Zone 2 and personality dimension number 2. Do you have a preference for facts or ideas? This is all about how you take in information and the type of information that interests you.
The facts people are actually almost like building blocks, taking in different bits of the picture and building up to a whole. What the ideas people are doing is the exact opposite. They are taking the whole, they get an overview, and only once they've got an overview do they have anything that they can hang the specific parts from.
We've asked our 100 to describe a tea bag. Try this out yourself. What would you say about this tea bag?
There's nothing to say, it's only a tea bag.
And what do you see in this picture? Well, remember what you thought, because we'll be asking you later on.
Okay, so if you're sat at home now looking at this picture and you're saying it's got an archway in the middle, it's got a sky and some clouds up the top, what does that mean? What have you the person at home just found out about that?
That will be quite a literal, exactly what you see, describing the picture, which is the facts kind of response.
The alternative being?
Ideas, which means that they tend to take an overview, give rather quirky responses, and not stick to the actual facts and content.
Well, let's go over and see what the reactions to this one are.
It had a blue sky and a white cloud in the top left-hand corner. Had a square archway with like a triangular type top. Had a moon in the top left-hand corner. Behind it you could see kind of a cathedral type of thing. On the right-hand side there was an archway. It looked like a...
So straight away that pretty much fitted into what you were saying, wasn't it?
Yes, the behaviour he just demonstrated was facts behaviour. Whether or not that's his natural style of way of being is a slightly different question, because you can, of course, fake things.
Hang on a sec. You can fake things, which means you can cheat the system.
If someone wants to, for the purposes of today, come along and say, I'm going to be on TV, I want to present myself in a certain light for the purposes of television, they probably could maintain that for maybe 2 hours. In the same way that if you go out on a first date with someone, you probably present yourself in a pretty positive light.
No,
if you want a second.
That kind of thing, do they?
I've heard of it done, you know, Nick. I've heard of it done.
So, is this man trying to be something that he's not because he's on telly? Well, we know, because we filmed him in real life. But before we reveal what he's really like, our psychologists have one final test to try out on him.
What exactly can you learn about a person's personality from a tea bag hanging in the air?
It's essentially a repeat of the test that we were looking at earlier, and it's just showing that the difference between the way people take in information about the world, the facts versus ideas, is such a fundamental difference that actually in a way it really doesn't matter what you ask them about. You can show them a very complex picture or something as ordinary and everyday as a tea bag, and you'll see the same fundamental difference coming through.
And it's got tea leaves dotted around the outside of it, and it's got some creases in it, and it's got a kink just at the bottom there.
Andy is clearly demonstrating the facts preference, which means he likes detail. But can our psychologist tell me how that will show itself in his real life?
If we look at, say, a career, like let's take accountants, what we do find is we tend to get more facts people who are accountants than ideas people. That's not to do with necessarily facts people are better at numbers, but they are more interested in them. And so because they're more interested in them and their mind works in a step-by-step building way, they are more likely to then develop skill in that area because they will become interested and they will do more of that.
So does that career description fit Andy? Well, he's not an accountant, he's a computer programmer, but his need to work in a detailed sequential way is spot on.
I'm very picky. I'm very perfectionist.
His detailed outlook means he's ideally suited to his job.
If I could have 30 people at Andy Taylor, my God, we'd be successful.
But surely there's only one way to talk about a tea bag, or is there? How do the ideas people describe it?
It's a cheeky little number, isn't it? Is it decaffeinated or because it's suspended, so it might be of the light variety?
I feel like I'm in a fish tank, like a fish, and then this is a tea bag. It's like a bait.
Okay, so these are ideas responses, but does that mean that these people don't like detail?
Just that I like a cup of tea. A cup of tea is like nectar on a morning.
This is Amanda Morgan from Leeds, who works in an architect's office. Her preference is ideas, but that doesn't mean she can't do detail when the job demands. It's just not what she prefers.
Detail, detail, detail. Drives me insane.
Okay, so you can do both, but with type what's important is which one you prefer.
It was like a jumble cell being held in Casablanca.
There's a room on the right, there's an arch in the middle.
Sunny, cloudy, ornate pieces of furniture.
On the left you've got a dome on a column of pillars.
It may well be.
So our psychologists are saying you prefer one or the other, but surely you can change.
What bothers me is the person I was 20 years ago is not the person I am today. So does that mean I've changed type along the way?
What the theory says is that you are born one type and that you stay that type throughout life.
Personality type theory says we're all one of 16 types, but where does our personality come from? Psychoanalyst Carl Jung, the founding father of personality type theory, believed that we're all born with a predestined personality. But according to the theory, your personality develops over time, much like a seed takes time to become a plant. Just as plants need the right environment to flourish, he believed that factors like your family, education and culture encourage or discourage your ability to form your type fully. So if you're an extrovert growing up in a family of introverts, telling you to be quiet all the time, you may not blossom until you leave home.